Hello, beautiful souls! Happy Monday! It's Kelsey Grace here. Oh my gosh. I just am having explosion. My mind feels like that emoji right now where things are just exploding and I have so many breakthroughs and so many ahas and things really landing. And I just have to come and share it with you because it's so life-changing, everything that I'm about to share with you. So get ready. I know this is a spur of the moment, and when I have the idea to go live, I like to test myself, to give myself 5 minutes just to do it, even if I don't have anything planned out. So here I am showing up, holding myself to my agreement. Hello, whoever's hopping on, drop one thing that you're grateful for in the comments. I'm really excited. I have so many things that are just rolling through my mind. I had such a powerful breakthrough the other day, and it continues just to ripple itself in even today as I've been going through different notes and journaling and connecting into myself. The other day I had all of this energy coming up around feeling like a disappointment. Hey Christopher, how you doing? And I had all this feeling of like, oh man, I feel like I disappointed other people. I felt like I really just disappointed myself, and it was not anyone else. It's nothing that anyone said. It was just judgments that I had of myself. And instead of what I ended up doing, I just connected in with that disappointment and going back into the phase in which I was in, that I was judging myself as being a disappointment. And I went back into that phase and I really allowed myself to process the emotions. I really just felt like I wasn't enough. And I had this really beautiful experience where I was able to look at myself in that moment and see in that moment of time, actually, that I wasn't enough. And instead of saying and judging not enoughness as bad, it helped me to see how not enoughness was really beautiful, because I've grown so much since then. I'm referring back to a phase in my life where it was last year, and I'm not going to go into all the details, but there was just things that I was judging myself as a disappointment. But in that moment, I wasn't enough, and that's okay. And the breakthrough that I had was that my enoughness, my not enoughness is so beautiful. And there's going to be times where I feel like I'm not enough, because I'm both not enough and enough. And when we can stop running away from not feeling not enough or feeling unloved, like these are all aspects that we have of ourselves. And so for me, I had been running away from feeling not enough, and from running away from not feeling like I don't got this, or, feel like I can't hold what I'm trying to create. And instead of judging those emotions, I went into them and felt them and really connected to them. And I felt like I was holding this not enoughness, and for one of the first times really embracing it to a whole new level. And I share this with you because how often are we running away from our emotions? How often are we running away from feeling not enough, from feeling not loved, from feeling like we're inadequate, right? We're so scared that those things are actually true. But when we start to see from a higher level of consciousness or perspective, we see that we are both of them. We're one with it all, right? We're not enough and we're enough. We're unloved and we're loved. Like they're both one. And so for me, I was able to really see that not enoughness as a bridge to the enoughness. And I share this with you again because it is so powerful when we start to embrace these parts of ourselves and not judge them as good or bad, or judge them and be afraid of them, because the more afraid and the more we resist them, the more they persist, right? What you resist persists. And so this is where you want to face these parts of you you know what I'm saying? Head on, right? And so you want to face these fears head on. You want to face these parts, these emotions, the parts that feel disappointed, the parts that feel not enough. And so for me, this opened up like a can of worms within myself, a can of parts of myself to be able to love. And so I really allowed that emotion of disappointment and not enoughness to move through myself. And then I reconnected to so many soul lessons that experience was giving me. I literally literally wrote down like 15 different lessons that I got because of that experience, because I stopped judging it as being wrong. I stopped judging myself as being wrong, which is a whole nother conversation. When we talk about things being right or wrong, how often are we judging ourselves for how we grow, for how we process, for how we're moving through life, right? You have a unique way in which you grow. You have a unique way in which you process things. And we live in a world where we're constantly judging things as right or wrong. But when we judge things as right or wrong, then we're disconnecting from our heart. We're disconnecting from God. We're disconnecting from our soul. And so if I'm judging my experience as wrong, then of course I'm going to be blinded from the lessons in which that experience was trying to gift me. And so when I stopped judging myself and stopped judging that experience as right or wrong and got to see it through the lens of compassion, seeing it through the lens of God's perfection, then I literally had 15 items on my list of lessons. And so for you, think about, what is it that you're judging in your life? What are you judging as right or wrong? Are you judging not enoughness? Are you judging how you're growing? Are you saying you're not growing fast enough? Or are you not where you want to be and you keep judging where you are? And every time you keep judging where you are, you're deeming it wrong. You're saying this is not right. Then you are hindering your growth. You're hindering your ability to catapult into that next step in your journey. And so this is where you want to find reverence for this place, right? Because one of the key things in growing is taking the judgment off. Taking the judgment off, because when we deem something to be right or wrong, then we're saying that one thing is better than the other. And when one thing is better than the other, then like neither one is right or wrong. When we can take that judgment off, then we can see the divine perfection in it. And it's pretty like, it's because this right or wrong concept has been so deeply ingrained in our psychology, it can be hard for the brain to understand right or wrong. Because if we think that we're in a right or we're not in a right or wrong world, then we think immediately that we're wrong. And so this is where it takes you to a higher level of consciousness, a higher level of understanding, to be able to live in a space where right and wrong doesn't exist. And that's in soul space. That's in your heart. That's in your power. And so if you want to live each and every day in your power, the way to get there is to process those things that you judge, to process those things that you think that you're missing outside of you, to realize and awaken that you have everything you need. You have everything you need. And that's where this concept of safety comes in, right? We're putting our safety in these outside things like money, relationships, health, or even business, or even feeling like we need to be right. Like we find safety in needing to be right. And so as soon as we take control, that safety is not in these exterior things or in the ways and these perceptions that we have. The only safety lies in the power of our soul, in the connection to our Creator, in our heart. And I know what it feels like to put safety in these outside things and for them to be ripped out of your life. And that only happens for God, for you to awaken that God is the only source of safety. I had things getting taken out of my life and it really ripped me apart, but that's because I was putting my safety in those things. I was putting my value in those things. And then I was able to detach from those things and awaken to my level of power that I'm at. And so, of course, there's more levels that I go to. Hey, Paul. Hey, Jim. Oh, thanks, Paul, for the stars. I'm getting excited. Amazing. And when we stop putting this safety outside of ourselves and we connect into the safety within ourselves, this safety is within our soul. Like, this conversation is something that is so important to have over and over and over again, because it goes really deep. It goes so deep, like the psychology of like right or wrong. We want to be right. That brings us safety. We make other people wrong. That brings us safety, right? And so we want to detach from those things and change the perceptions that we have and be able to see through this lens of God's perfection, universe's perfection, right? Whatever you believe in, through love. To see through love is to see through your heart. And if you see through love, then in love, you're not judging. In love, you're not thinking something is right or wrong. It's like, think about when you see a baby and a baby falls on its face, or maybe a baby has a knife and it's going like this. and the baby doesn't have the consciousness, it doesn't understand. So you don't judge the baby when it has a knife, or maybe when it's kicking and screaming. You don't judge it. It just is, because it's perfection, it's growing, it's learning. So what if we had that same perspective for each other, where we're all trying to grow, we're all trying to learn, we're all trying to awaken to new levels of consciousness. And it's like I said with the baby with the knife, the baby doesn't understand what the knife does. And say, as a grown adult, we hurt other people, but when we're hurt, we're unconscious, as a baby is unconscious with a knife. And so if we can have that level of perspective and that level of understanding, then when you see someone act out of hate or act out of pain, you see that they're just so deeply unconscious, and they're not in their soul. They're not in their love. It doesn't condone their behavior. It doesn't make what they're doing okay, but through love. Love is acceptance of everything as is. Like the way that you love a baby that doesn't have the consciousness to understand what a knife does, we can give that same compassion to our friends, to our family, to strangers, because they don't have the consciousness to understand what they're doing. They're trying to awaken. They don't know how. It's a cry for love. And we get to be that source of love for others. But it starts by processing those judgments. It starts with processing the pains that come up when we judge something as right or wrong. Right? Put an amen in the comments if you feel me, because I just am so, this stuff just absolutely blows my mind. When you start to really embody and understand this, you get to see the world through a whole new lens. When you see through this lens of love, that is what impacts the world. And drop a me in the comments if you want to impact this world. It doesn't matter how you want to impact it, or maybe you want to love more, maybe you want to give more, maybe you want to just shine your light more. Whatever it is, however you give your heart and your soul, I guarantee that in some shape or form you want to give. And if you want to impact the world, the way to do that is through being in a loving heart. When you're in a loving heart, that love ripples out into the universe. It touches everyone you come in contact with. And sometimes we come out of our love, we get triggered, we have a judgment, we have an expectation, judgment, expectations, wounds. Those are all coming up for us through divine perfection, so that it can flow through our system, our energetic system, so that we can awaken to a new level of love, so we can awaken to a new level of our power, so that we can awaken to our connection to our Creator, to see that God is literally flowing through us, through this other person, helping you to heal. This is how we can take our power back. To see how our outside reality is not trying to hurt us, but trying to heal us. And when we start to allow that process, then we can allow, and of course there's going to be resistance. Resistance is a natural thing that we go through. But as soon as the more that we practice letting go and surrendering and detaching and shifting our perceptions, I know that's a lot of things all at once, but it starts to become very effortless. And then you start to see, oh, this is happening for me. That statement, life is happening for me, not to me. Put it in the comments, life is happening for me, not to me. When you really start to embody that, you really start to see even the painful things that come up in your life as things happening for you, then you immediately learn what the lesson is. You get what the gift is. You get what it's trying to show you and teach you, right? I started my personal development journey fully embracing Tony Robbins for years. And then after about 2 or so years, I was sexually assaulted. And little did I know that I was being primed to be able to see life happening for me. For 2+ years, I was ingraining in my mind, life happening for me, not to me. I fully immersed myself. And then when I was sexually assaulted, I just kept repeating to myself, life is happening for me, not to me. And I was like, God, I don't know how this is happening for me. This is like the most painful thing I could ever experience. I don't know how other people experience this, and they don't have the resources or even the understanding to say that they are a victim or they are a survivor. And so then that awakened me by me saying in my mind, life is happening for me, not to me. Only a few days after the assault, I awakened to my gifts of being a healer to help other people heal from trauma. I turned something extraordinarily painful into my passion, into my purpose. And so this is an extreme example, but when we learn to see how is this happening for me, we take ourselves out of being a victim and into our power. And this is what I want to help humanity do, is step into their power, because holy shiitake mushroom, you are powerful beyond measure, like literally beyond measure. If you understood how powerful you are, you wouldn't even think a negative thought again. And of course, we have these thoughts coming in, but you would not give it energy. Because you are so powerful. Your thoughts create your reality. You are literally creating your reality in this moment. And if you're on this live with me or watching the replay with me, then there is a divine reason for that. There is a message here for you to help you awaken to your power, to help you get out of the suffering that we create for ourselves, to end that our internal suffering, to awaken to our gifts, to awaken to the truth. If you're going through a challenging time, if you're going through the mud, then there's something in here that's trying to support you in awakening through that. And maybe that's also giving yourself a little bit of grace. Healing and growing and expanding is not supposed to be comfortable. Pain is something we experience through life. We cannot escape life without having some pain. But we can decide how we want to move through it. We can create a meaning that empowers us. We can create a purpose from the meeting, like I did when I was sexually assaulted, that radically changed my life and put me on a path of truly embracing God, source, love. It was the catalyst, that experience was the catalyst for me to start loving myself to a whole new level. And now I embody this beautiful energy that I love to call grace. And I believe it's divine grace, God's grace flowing through me to be able to channel that energy into whoever comes in contact with me so that they may awaken to their true power, so their heart can open up. My intention for this call, for this session, is for this live, whatever the heck it is to open your heart. Because when you open your heart, then you are opening yourself up to the infinite possibilities of what this life has for you. And you may have been through some experiences that have closed your heart. And there's never a good reason to close your heart. So if there's anything from today's call, anything from today's live that you can take away, is to let grace in. Even when you judge things, it's okay. You're human. Catch yourself. Process the energy. Why are you judging? What parts of you are hurt? What parts of you need love? And give yourself that love. Give yourself that grace. One thing that I do for myself is if I have these parts, and I do, we all do, I've been having some doubt come up. What I started to do is I started to bring divine grace into that. I use grace because that's like the energy in which I yield and I connect with like my highest self. I imagine as an angel just embodying this like holy preciousness of divine grace. And so I imagine that the doubt gets to connect in with that grace. And so for you, as you tap into your highest self, or you tap into your soul, you have this conversation from a higher perspective. You are able to see these parts of you from a different level, not deeming them to be true, but loving them with your heart. And so I hope that you take away from this talk how to love yourself to a whole new level. To be able to be okay feeling not enough, but not drowning there. To be okay feeling disappointed. To being okay being human, making mistakes. to judge. All of these things, don't judge yourself for judging. But if you want to heal and you want to expand and you want to step into your power, these are the things that are part of the process of getting into your heart, of getting into your power. So take the time to journal. Take some time to look at yourself and investigate into who you are. Because when you journal and you take time to go into the mind to see what's coming up for you, what are you judging? What's coming up in your heart? Then you can start to identify the things that you need to love about yourself. And the judgments, again, are just reflections of you that need love and acceptance, right? And same thing with safety. Everything is just trying to reflect back to you and help you awaken to the power of your soul. And this can be really hard sometimes, which is why having mentors and coaches and people that can see beyond is important. And so if you want and you are looking to go beyond what you can see, what you can feel, to experience life in a way that you could never imagine, I'm telling you, healing is the most extraordinary thing in the world. I would never thought this level or this feeling that I have today was possible. This feeling of strength, of power, of courage, of love. I never thought it was possible to feel this way. And so I encourage you, if you want to go further, faster, if you want to be able to feel and expand your light and feel the true power of your soul and not be limited by the mind or your past, shoot me a DM. Because I can support you in catapulting every area of your life. So with that being said, thank you so much for hopping on today. I just had so much energy, so much stuff that I had to share, that going live was the only solution to share it out. I love you all so much. Please share your takeaways or shoot me a DM. Let me know what you're taking away from today's call. I appreciate you all, and I appreciate the stars, Paul. That was so sweet. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you all next time. Mwah. Bye-bye.